Whenever I go back to watch a TV show that aired during the late 2000s, I have to prepare myself for the inevitable. The writers' strike season.
Making a huge sacrifice for the Writers Guild, for the labor movement, and for Hollywood.
The 2007 to 2008 writers' strike is infamous for so many reasons. It cancelled shows, shortened seasons, gave us some crazy narrative choices. For example, the writers' strike gave us this.
Remember my old assistant Hunter? He is an excellent songwriter. Wait till you hear this. Okay, here we go.
But it also gave us this.
In a coffin.
In the 1980s, the Writers Guild of America had been asked to take an 80% pay cut in writers' residuals for VHS tapes in order to boost the very successful at the time home video business. When the DVD market arrived into the mainstream, residuals had not been renegotiated from the VHS era, and the writers were being paid less. And by the early 2000s, the internet and streaming was beginning to rise as a new form of competition to DVDs and physical media. TV shows then began fighting to get their shows to the younger generation. The Writers Guild of America recognised that television was likely to transition away from traditional platforms, which could potentially lead to bankruptcy. In anticipation of this, the Guild requested a raise in their residuals percentage from 2.5% to 5%. However, in a typical corporate move, studios rejected the request. This led to the Writers Guild of America striking on November 5th, 2007. Causing Hollywood to come to a complete halt. The impact of the strike would be felt in television for years after its end on February 12, 2008. Many shows had shortened seasons, some halted production, and unfortunately, a select few were cancelled altogether. In this video, we will be exploring a few of the TV shows airing during this time, and how they were affected sometimes for the best or for the worst. And just a warning, yes, there will be spoilers.
Okay. I'm listening. So you think that you're in some kind of a time loop?
Supernatural was a CW TV show created by Eric Kripke that aired from 2005 to 2020. It starred Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles as brothers Sam and Dean, who hunt the supernatural. The 2007 writers' strike had a significant impact on Supernatural during its third season, resulting in a reduction of the episode count from 22 to just 16. For a little bit of context, at the end of season 2, Dean, one of the brothers, made a deal with a demon in order to bring Sam, the other brother, back to life after he was stabbed. Now, if you've seen Supernatural or know enough about it, you'll know that these two never stay dead for long. Like, ever. I think the longest one of them was ever remained dead for was like a couple of months, but even then that was pretty much always off screen and in between seasons. Unless you're counting the finale, which we just don't talk about it. Anyways, because of this, the writers needed to figure out a way to prevent Dean's upcoming death in the narrative. Justin Bellow, the 12th episode of season 3, was the last episode of the season to have been written before the writers' strike. The strike disrupted the original plans for the season, which included Sam fully submitting to his powers in order to save Dean from his deal. But with the episode count cut, there was no time to properly develop this plot. So, instead, Dean's descent into hell actually happened and occurred in the season's 16th and final episode. When season 4 began, the writers faced the challenge of figuring out how to bring Dean back from hell. Their solution? To introduce angels into the show's mythology. This led to the historic casting of Misha Collins as Castiel, an angel who rescues Dean from hell. Initially signed on for just 3 episodes, Castiel quickly became a fan favourite, leading to him becoming a mainstay character for the rest of the series. And as a little fun side note, because he was only signed on for 3 episodes initially, Misha Collins decided to put on this deep and gravelly voice as Castiel.
I'm the one who gripped you tight and raised you from perdition.
Which makes sense because he was only signed on for 3 episodes initially. Like, how could he have known that he would have to use this voice for the next 12 years of his life? When asked about the introduction of angels into the storyline, show creator Eric Kripke said in 2010, quote, "A lot of it was dumb luck," which I think is so ironic now because a lot of Supernatural fans will say that some of the best moments and parts of the show were all things that the writers just didn't intend to do. Like, the show always ended up coming across these happy accidents that accidentally made the show better. And a lot of these things were just indeed dumb luck that the writers just happened upon and just ran with, I guess. Now, as someone who has watched this show more times than I'd like to admit, for me, the writing and storylines improved quite a lot after the strike was resolved. I'm not saying that seasons 1 to 3 are bad by any means. Honestly, I really enjoy them, but seasons 4 and 5 are pretty much considered the peak of Supernatural by the majority of the fans. And the introduction of angels in heaven was such a refreshing change that the mythology actually kind of needed. Cass's introduction to Supernatural also accidentally resulted in one of the most iconic and controversial queer ships in modern television. Destiel, the ship between Dean Winchester and Castiel. A ship so big that it was the first ship to reach 100,000 works on Archive of Our Own, a popular fanfiction website. 100,000 fics of two men who never had explicitly canonical reciprocation for each other, despite the amount of queerbaiting that the show did throughout all its years. In the 18th episode of the show's 15th and final season, Castiel's character both confessed his love to Dean and was sent to the void on November 5th, 2020, exactly 13 years to the day since the writer's strike began. The writer's strike. The literal event that caused Castiel's character to be created in the first place. I mean, this type of coincidence is what makes Supernatural so interesting. Looking back, many consider the writer's strike to have been a blessing in disguise for Supernatural, as it set the stage for some of the most iconic and memorable moments in the show's whole run.
You're the most caring man on earth. You are the most selfless, loving human being I will ever know.
And introduced a fan favourite character. And created a domino effect that would result in one of the most unhinged days on the internet in fandom history. Like, genuinely, I could make an entire video on the rabbit hole that is November 5th, 2020. I literally remember waking up on November 6th, looking at my phone, and witnessing that hell had just broken loose. If you look at posts from November 5th, 2020, specifically on Tumblr and Twitter, there is genuinely so much to unpack, and so much internet lore that was born on that day. The fact that the writer's strike created a domino effect that resulted in this is just so fascinating to me.
Wait, save the cheerleader, save the world. Wait, hero, I don't understand.
The first season of NBC's Heroes, released in 2006, was a massive success, quickly propelling the show to the forefront of pop culture, in a world before the oversaturation of live-action superhero content. It became one of the first live-action superhero TV series to capture the public's attention, drawing in an impressive 14.3 million viewers on average in the United States. This made Heroes the highest NBC drama premiere in 5 years. The show was structured into different volumes, with Season 1 titled Genesis, Season 2 Generations, Season 3 split into 2 parts, Villains and Fugitives, and Season 4 concluding with Redemption. Season 2, initially intended to contain 3 volumes, was abruptly cut short due to the Writers Guild of America strike. As a result, the producers had to reshape the season to include only the Generations volume. The 3rd volume, Exodus, which would have explored the effects of the Shanti virus, was cancelled entirely. Additionally, Villains, which was initially planned for Season 4, was moved onto Season 3. This shift required reshoots of certain scenes in the Generations finale to tie up loose ends and reflect the cancellation of Exodus. Greg Grunberg, who played Matt Parkman on the show, tweeted in May 2023, reflecting on the impact of the writer's strike. The last writer's strike I was on was Heroes, and we all know how that turned out. Give the writers what they deserve. The writer's strike and the Rush Season 2 made Heroes a perfect example of how quickly a show can go from a massive success to struggling to find its footing again. The strike heavily impacted Heroes' 2nd season, which only managed to produce 11 episodes instead of the planned 24, and the show's early conclusion for that season was a rushed attempt to wrap up the plot rather than leave it unfinished. The decline in Heroes' popularity came quickly. The show lost its popularity practically as quickly as it gained it. In 2007, creator Tim Kring admitted the numerous mistakes made during season 2. For example, Hiro Nakamura's prolonged stay in 17th century Japan hurt the pacing of the show and the character in this season. Kring acknowledged all the issues that were brought to him, including the romantic subplots that didn't really work and all the new characters that were unnecessarily added, and he promised that season 3 would address them. However, despite efforts to correct course, the show never managed to regain the quality or appeal of its first season. One plot point I personally always disliked from season 2 is Peter Petrelli's. For brief context, Peter Petrelli's power is the ability to replicate the powers of others, which, as you can tell, allows him to be really overpowered really quickly, and pretty much invincible. So, in order to allow for more plot with his character, the writers had him lose his memory in season 2 and relearn his powers. It always just seemed so clear to me that they just didn't know what to do with such an overpowered character, except for make him lose his memory. Heroes even had plans for a spin-off series called Heroes Origins, which was intended to introduce new characters each week and let viewers vote on which ones will return for the next season of the main show. However, due to the writers' strike, this project was postponed and ultimately cancelled. While Heroes continued for another 2 seasons, its ratings and storytelling never recovered to the heights it reached in season 1. Now, it's genuinely so strange to talk about Heroes, because it's one of those shows that peaked and then kinda just got swiped off of the face of the earth. There was a year where everyone was talking about it, and then its hype died down so quickly. It's crazy to think that Heroes could have been remembered as a modern television classic if the writer's strike hadn't caused the quality to decline as quickly as it did. If anything, Heroes remains fairly forgotten and rarely mentioned in the discussion of 2000s TV. However, will always be remembered for the huge potential its initial season had, and a cautionary tale. If you were watching Heroes during its original run, comment down below what you remember of the show's decline and what your thoughts were at the time. Did you notice the show's declining quality, or did you just enjoy the show for what it was?
But if we can't live together, we're gonna die alone.
Now, Lost was pretty much the quintessential blockbuster show of the late 2000s. Lost was a huge hit right from its pilot back in 2004, which by the way was the most expensive TV pilot ever at the time, costing around $14 million to produce, a large part of that budget going towards their big set piece, a real decommissioned airliner. The writer's strike began during production on season 4 of Lost, which was originally intended to have 16 episodes. 8 episodes had been shot before the strike was announced, with production halted on the remaining. After the strike, additional episodes of Lost season 4 were filmed, bringing the episode count of season 4 up to a total of 14 episodes, making this season the shortest of the entire show. For me, the 3-part finale of season 4, titled There's No Place Like Home, is genuinely one of Lost's finest. There are some great moments in this finale, like the moment when the Oceanic Six reunite with their families, that heartbreaking moment when Jin doesn't get to the helicopter, and of course, when the group is rescued by Penny. However, the cliffhanger that this episode ends with is crazy, literally so crazy and out of nowhere at the time. To refresh your memories on the end of season 4, in the final flash forward, it's revealed that John Locke is dead and in a coffin, not on the island. There's this pan over for the reveal and yeah, it's unhinged to this day. And I'll give the writers credit where credit is due. They do explain this fully in the final 2 seasons and make it a big plot line. It does end up working out and making sense. However, this plot twist kind of always gave me the vibe that the writers just wanted to do something for shock value after the writers' strike and wanted to keep people coming back. Following this finale is season 5, which is often placed at the bottom of rankings of all the seasons of Lost. Season 5 is questionable. In usual Lost fashion, there are some classic moments in this season. However, these moments don't exactly make up for the interesting narrative decisions that the writers made for this season. The whole time travel storyline is very intriguing, yet get convoluted fairly easily and quickly, and things start to get a little messy, and sometimes too confusing, even by Lost standards. While it's never been fully confirmed, it's very suspected that the writer's strike influenced the downfall in quality that the show faced in season 5, and the far-fetched storylines that were created. I'm actually rewatching Lost at the minute, and yeah, season 5 was kind of rough to get through. It's not bad by any means, it's just a clear decline in quality compared to the previous seasons, and it shows.
Oh, Alfredo sauce. I'm getting a stitch.
Fundamentally, the writer's strike changed so much of television at the time, and started a domino effect that we are still feeling in some aspects to this day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I could honestly talk about the writer's strike for days. I'm just so obsessed with this tiny part of pop culture history. And there are so many other shows I could talk about, like Breaking Bad, The Office, Smallville, so comment to let me know if you want to see me talk about more shows that aired during the writer's strike, or any other pop culture related videos you want to see from me. Thank you for listening to me ramble.